In this my Owerri, no Owerri came shini me apota as I just step out of Owerri. How many weeks ago now? Kono Gwamna ne 70-something thousand people with HIV. 70-something thousand. No Owerri. Hey! Okotoria bala bajuso yo. Okay, one hospital. Now one hospital confirmed this one. Other hospital never tell us that how many people were there. Chineke na ekwurume ekwutse the rate Jaroga hotel. Abarata abaha for nights like this you no go see road to pass. Give everybody to the motor. You have people standing on the road. The man I just these people that are stranded. What is keeping people on the road? They let you no longer na ballet. What are you people doing? You want to make HIV a souvenir. And the one with the best people say some of you go not say you carry a more, but you go tell yourself say you don't want to die alone. Get a cage of one or zig set out the area. Uno black and everybody should be careful. Uno black Holande wa but some of you will be every night. Uno na who you got codolo. Ya don't know one or now go. In Holland we can codoro HIV. If you do you want to cuddle to get codolo HIV. No be everything condom they protect too. I don't see who we are condom do see carry infection. Talk more of HIV. Not everything condom go. Even get grass of condom, get Chondeke original. Okwa condom in the 6.5. Cho do yeah. Okwa condom in the 1,2,000. Cho wakwa original duress. Even put like a tra otunga. Oh, I got a messy.
Actually, even though we know that this may not be an actual fact, it's not a nice thing to just pick somebody's words the way they said it on social media, because anybody could do anything on social media, then they run to, social media with it, even without verifying or without verification. But this guy isn't far from the truth. Why do you think most businessmen who have a lot of money, when they think of any business to do in the Southeast, especially Imo State, they're thinking of hotels? It's the easiest way to launder money. It's the easiest way to keep money. It is the easiest way to practically land bank, building bank, your money. Even if at the end of the day you are tired of the hotel, you may as well sell, you may as well lease, you may as well also, and then when you are selling, you're selling for much more than you actually built or invested in it. At some point in the past, I think I was even I was checking the list of hotels in Owerri, Imo State, and do you know that there is no alphabet in the English lexicon that doesn't have a name attached to a hotel? From A to Z, there is a name. B, C, D, E. They have a name to a hotel in Owerri. In fact, for every street you turn and there's no hotel, then that place, it seems there's something wrong with that place. Every weekend. There was a time I was in Owerri, 2012, 2014. Every weekend there's this event that happens, and it's about a hotel that's opening every week. So you ask yourself, is it really a good investment? Some people will say, well, who really cares? It's an investment. Somebody has put down their monies to make money because they know and they feel that is what, turns the city on, Before Uzodimma came, during Rochas, that city was in fact, it was, they call it the California of the Southeast, because of the number of people who came in from Port Harcourt, who came in from Abuja, who came in from Enugu, who came in from Benue, all flocking to Thursdays. From Thursday, their hotels get booked up all the way till Monday, And then when Uzodimma came, it's reduced because of the insecurity that took over when he assumed office. So a lot of people just withdrew from Imo State for a bit, even though, you know, when the security now improved, it now came back. So I'm not surprised, frankly, by the numbers, because what do they use hotel for? You could say, oh, well, is hotel only used for NACs? But come on, let's be realistic. Most of the reasons put on the table as why people build their hotel is not because they want to use the hall for conferences, or lease the hall for church programs. That's also a money making spinner, or maybe create a bar or do a shawarma spot. I mean, it's not that. It's majorly about NACs, man and woman being together, and the school, the amount of school that is in Imo State is also another issue. I mean, I'm talking about the amount of higher institution in Imo State is tremendous. Like you can't even count it. I'm talking about higher institution that is in the neighborhood of, say, 15 to 20 as at last count, though. Maybe now you don't even increase. I'm talking about schools sort of higher learning, those who are adolescents. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, is it a good thing? What do you think? I'd like to know, is it a good thing? And so let's even talk about this HIV thing, finally. So at least we now know the reasons why that hotels keeps bringing up. And they're not going to stop. New ones keep coming up, and we now know the reasons why. The numbers are showing. This man is shouting 73,000 or 72,000, and he says from one hospital. Think about it. Imagine 5 hospitals giving their numbers. Just even say maybe they're not even talking 72,000 for all of those hospitals. Let's just say they are announcing 50,000 for a town like Owerri. Owerri is big, yes. It's a great town, no doubt. But imagine that number with people living with HIV and AIDS. Now, HIV is not a death sentence. It's not like I'm doing this video to just put fear in people. After all, people live with HIV and AIDS for 10, 15, 20 years, depending on your viral load, depending on your immune system, and of course the amount of times that you take the drugs, your consistency in taking the drugs. And it has also been proven that when you are able to take your drugs, you will not be able to infect the next person. If you are consistent with your drugs, which is advisable, you will not be able to infect the next person. That's why the number of people who are infected is dropping. I don't know if you noticed. If you check out the number of people infected with HIV and AIDS 10 years ago, and now the numbers have been dropping. It's dropping. It's not like people are not having sex raw. There are some people who don't even care about all this condoms and all of those things. So all they do is once they do finish, they go and take something, and they feel that's the way they want to enjoy their sex. So most people don't even bother asking for contraceptives in any way, whether you're a man or a woman. So they just go raw. So it's not like people don't have sex raw, but it's just that people who are infected, who consistently take their drugs, are not able to infect the next person. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. They're not able to infect the next person, especially when they find out early enough that they are not HIV positive. Do you understand it? It's only when you now realize you are HIV positive, then you start taking the drug. So most people don't even know. And the reason why I say that number is not far from the truth is because imagine people who don't even know their status. This is a number of people who know. So they've come to this hospital, they have done the test, and they know, and then they get drugs. Thank God that they said the drugs. In some places they say it's free. In some other places they say you have to pay for it, even though it's a little bit cheaper than usual because it's antiretroviral drugs and it's a sponsored initiative from an international organization. So when you put in perspective the fact that there are people who really don't care about going to check themselves, they don't want to know whether they are okay or whether they are infected or not. They are just strictly saying they're not going to do it because they are scared that when they do, they're going to find out that they are positive. So that number is not even added to this so-called 73,000 that this guy is shouting about. So to tell you the dire situation that we are in, I wish we could do that the same number maybe in Anambra, do the same thing maybe in Enugu, do the same thing in Ebonyi, and do the same thing in Abia, just to find out. It's not like it's a death sentence. You're living with the disease. It doesn't mean you are going to die tomorrow. But I'm just saying that it's scary, and people should be careful. It's become more of a menace. It's as if the parents in Imo have completely, abdicated their responsibility. It looks like as soon as they give birth to you and from being a teenager, 12, 13, the parents faces their life and continues doing something, and then they abandon you. Once they take you to their boarding school that they usually go to, they abandon you. You should continue your life, and whatever you get out of life, it's up to you. Should we start talking about the amount of Yahoo boys who are also located there? That the ones that are making the house rents high, much more expensive. But we'll talk about that a little later. But that will be on another topic. But I just want to state categorically that having sex may not necessarily be a function of bad parental upbringing. It could be a function of adults' decision. There's nobody that does not know the consequences of having sex without condoms or having sex without protection. So, who doesn't know, as an adult, those consequences, but people just decide this is what they want. So like adults having sex, more people having sex is not a product of bad parental upbringing. I don't think it is, per se. You could say a role could be played by that if a parent refuses to do that, but it is not entirely because, come on, these things are online, these things are everywhere, and there's nobody today you would not even adolescents these days. Adolescents these days, they go around with their phones and check things online by themselves. So most of them know, most of them don't know, but then to the extent of what we know in terms of parenting versus having sex in an unresponsible or in an irresponsible manner, you would tell that it's not an entirely, but the blame should not be entirely on the parents, but you could tell that the youth themselves are really out to, unalive themselves, frankly. If you can find out an information about something as interesting as sex, you should also find out an information, the advantages and disadvantages of that thing that you found out. In this world, this day and age, parents are so busy. So if you are busy looking for something that's not looking for you, then you should have to find your way around it. So it's so unfortunate we have those numbers, and the numbers keeps going up. But I just hope that that things are done quickly. And if you are headed that direction or any other direction, be careful. Very important. Very important. All right. Thank you, guys. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you as always.